Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. I am excited to have you along the ride for this week's show. We are talking about beneficiary blunders. In other words, we're going to talk about all the mistakes that people make when it comes to beneficiary planning. Guess what? You might be making some of these same mistakes. We don't want to see that, and so I want you to pay attention, because if you see yourself in some of the stories we're going to tell you on this week's show, it's a great time to catch them before they happen. I want to share with you beneficiary blunders. I love talking about this because it's a little bit funny, provided it's not your family that it's happening to. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. Now make sure you grab your pen and paper, grab a cup of coffee, because Retiring Well starts right here, right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
This week in Chalk Talk, we're talking about financial accounts and how do you get them to avoid probate. Now, the idea here is what we're trying to do is we're trying to get money that you hold in your investment accounts or different insurance contracts. We want to get them to your beneficiaries without going through probate. In other words, we want to skip the whole probate process. And it turns out that there's some pretty easy ways to make it happen, some that you might be familiar with, and then there might be others that might be new to you. So hopefully this will be pretty helpful. Now, when it comes to, we've got two categories going on here. The first category are what we would call contracts. So contracts would be retirement plans, or they might be insurance contracts. So what are the retirement plan contracts called? Well, you're familiar with them. IRA, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, maybe simple IRAs or SEP IRAs. All of those types of retirement accounts, Roth IRAs, all of these retirement accounts, they operate as contracts, and that'll be important in just a moment. Insurance companies, they have contracts, and typically those contracts are either life insurance or annuities. So both life insurance and annuities are contracts. They fall under this category. Then on the other side, we have just brokerage accounts. So maybe it's a joint account. Joe and Mary jointly. So if Joe dies, the money goes to Mary. Mary dies, the money goes to Joe. Or maybe it's just an individual account. Susie brokerage account. Susie Smith brokerage account would be an example. So there are two different categories because we have contracts over here. These are not contracts, they're just accounts. So when it comes to contracts, retirement plans, insurance contracts, you simply name beneficiaries, as easy as can be. Some would just simply say easy peasy, right? You just name beneficiaries, and if you do that, then when you die, all of the contracts, all the retirement plans, all the insurance contracts, all of this stuff on this side of the line, it all avoids probate. It goes directly to your named beneficiary. So, and here's the other thing. A lot of people make a mistake here because what they do is they think that they need to list the beneficiaries in their wills or their trusts, and they say, here's a mistake I see all the time where they say, okay, my IRA, I want 1/3 to go to Billy, 1/3 to go to Johnny, and 1/3 to go to Susie, or something like that. But here's the problem. Your will doesn't affect these accounts. It doesn't affect your IRAs or your insurance accounts. You name beneficiaries right on those contracts, and boom, that's where it goes. So you could have Mary as your beneficiary of one of these things, and then you go to your will or your trust and you say, no, actually I want Johnny to be the beneficiary on those accounts. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your will or trust says. All that matters is what's the beneficiary on the plan. That's the only thing that matters. Okay, so don't make that mistake. If you ever want to change beneficiaries, you got to change them on these plans. Make sense? Okay, then we have to look at the other side. That's over here. We said these are just accounts, joint accounts, individual accounts. Now, traditionally, here's what would happen. Upon your death, these accounts, like if you have Joe and Mary joint account, after they're both gone, that money would go through probate. Or if you had Joe Smith, his individual account, he dies, goes through probate. Really not any great way to avoid that. But here's a little known rule. Here's a little known opportunity. And I'll bet that if you have a financial advisor, it wouldn't surprise me if they have not talked to you about this. Well, simply because they don't get paid on doing this. But there's a it's one page piece of paper. It's called TOD. Todd. Of course, that's not what it really stands for. It stands for Transfer on Death. So let's say you have 3 children. Joe and Mary have a joint account. And they have 3 children. They can name their account John and Mary Joint, and then TOD, Billy, Susie, and Johnny, or whatever their children's names are. In other words, TOD allows you to do the exact same that a beneficiary agreement does, but on regular accounts. How cool is that? So at the end of the day, if you're doing your job right, every single financial account you own, including bank accounts, can be set up to bypass probate either through a beneficiary arrangement, a transfer on death arrangement, or for bank accounts, there's something called payable on death. It's the same thing. Or payable on death. You can avoid probate with every single financial account simply by these types of instruments. So there you go. I hope that helps. So don't make the mistakes. Get this done right, and you're going to be in great shape.
Centennial Wealth Advisory, your independent retirement planning specialists, now in 3 convenient locations in northern Michigan. 818 Red Drive in Traverse City, 3890 Charlevoix Avenue in Petoskey, and 3687 Old 27th South in Gaylord. Contact us at 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com to schedule your no-obligation complete retirement review at any of our northern Michigan locations, Traverse City, Petoskey, or Gaylord. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, July 26th at the Inn at Bay Harbor in Petoskey, or Thursday, August 10th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, I'm here with Larry Flynn. He's one of the financial advisors at Centennial Wealth. And, Larry, a lot of folks, as they're watching the show, we're asking them to give us a call. Come on in and visit with you and the other guys here at the firm. And I'm sure they're wondering, well, gosh, if I call, what's going to happen? What's that like? I'm sure there's some uncertainty out there. What happens when somebody calls to come visit with you and the guys?
Well, the first thing happens, Mike, is if they make a call, we have somebody from our office reach out to them and basically try to spend about 10-15 minutes with them on the phone just to try to get to understand, what are they trying to accomplish, what do they want to expect when they come in to visit with us.
Okay, like what kind of questions they have, what they're trying to, and I'm sure a lot of folks, they're just trying to get maybe a second set of eyes or a second opinion on things, right?
That's right.
So they call up, someone reaches out, they get some information so that, so I guess essentially you can be better prepared for them when they come in, right?
Well, exactly. Before we want to meet with them, a lot of these people want a risk analysis, they want a fee analysis, they really want, again, that second opinion on what they have. So we might ask them to send some information ahead of time so we can make that first meeting very productive.
Well, of course, because we don't want to waste their time, and you want to make the best use of your time. So maybe by being prepared, right, you can make for a good meeting. So here we are. They come on into the office. I know Pat meets them up front usually, or maybe they're in Petoskey or Gaylord. What kind of things are you talking about? What types of analyses are you usually doing for people? What kind of areas are people finding these conversations to be of greatest value?
Well, Mike, the first thing we do when we sit down with somebody is we really want to know what their story is, where they came from, what they're trying to accomplish, what are their dreams now that they're either nearing retirement or getting in retirement. These are important before we even get into any other discussions because we want to know where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, you got to know where they're from and what they're trying to get to before you mess around with any planning, right?
That's right.
So once you get through that, what are some of the things that you find yourselves typically talking about with the folks that come visit?
Well, the most important conversation, of course, is how do they feel about investing in the first place? Before we even talk about anything, how much risk are they willing to live with? How much are they willing to lose in just a given year? We saw so many people, didn't we, after 2008? They had that conversation with the advisor. They put them in a conservative portfolio, and the people lost 30-40% and had no clue they were taking that kind of risk on. We're not going to let that happen.
So basically, you're trying to help learn about their situation, learn what they're trying to accomplish, give them a full analysis to make sure that they're on target, and if they're not, I'm assuming you give them ways that they could fix things.
That's right.
All right, fantastic. So folks, there you have it. Sounds like a pretty comfortable meeting to me. Any arm twisting going on there, Larry?
No arm twisting.
Of course not. I didn't think there was. Again, if you want to visit with the guys, just pick up the phone. The number's on the screen. We'd love to see you in the office. Love to see if we can help you out. Welcome back. In this segment, we are going to talk about 3 common mistakes that we see every day. You might be making some of these. You don't want to be making these mistakes, but we see them every day in the office when we visit with people just like you. And I got a lot to share here, so I'm going to run right through them. First mistake, number 1, most common mistake, not reviewing beneficiary arrangements often enough. Okay, this happens. Let's say that you're in a marriage where it's the same marriage, you've been married for 40 years or something like that. But and maybe you've been with a company for a long time. I've got a great example. Let's call him Steve. All right, obviously we don't use real names here, but let's call him Steve. Steve worked at the same company forever. And when he opened up his 401k, he wasn't even married yet. And when we looked at who's the beneficiary of your 401k, Steve, you know who it was? It was his parents, who were dead. I mean, they had passed away already. He's married 40 years. His wife wasn't even the beneficiary. Now, the good news is that the laws say the wife has to be the beneficiary of 401ks first, but holy cow. I mean, are you kidding me? And then what if he and his wife died at the same time? They had 3 children. Were they listed as beneficiaries anywhere? No, not on the 401k. So, good idea to update those things periodically. Hopefully you're not making the same mistake there. Another area that our reviews often uncover mistakes is in second marriages. I can't tell you how many times we find that maybe a 401k, an old IRA, or maybe some life insurance that you've had a long time. So you have a husband, has life insurance for a long time. Who's the beneficiary? Not the new wife, it's still the old wife and or the ex-wife. Guess what? You die, those companies are going to pay that money out to whoever the named beneficiary is. We talked about that during Chalk Talk. They're going to pay the beneficiary listed. It does not matter what your will or trust says. It matters what the beneficiary form says. So that's a big mistake. Number one, not reviewing and updating. Number two, I kind of just referenced it. Thinking that these accounts go through your will or through your trust. Guess what? If you have, say, a 401k and you name beneficiaries, or you have an IRA and you have named beneficiaries, none of that money is going to go through your will or trust. None of it. It goes straight to the beneficiary through something called contract law. Your will and trust only covers things that either your will, what goes through probate, your trust, what's titled in the trust. The net effect is if you have life insurance, IRAs, 401ks, joint accounts, TOD accounts, POD accounts. We talked all about this in the last segment in Chalk Talk. None of those accounts go through your will or trust. So you might say, and this is what we see. Someone comes in, maybe a family comes in, they say, well, you know, we've updated our wills and trusts and we've changed some beneficiary arrangements around. Well, the first thing we ask is, well, wait a minute, did you change the IRA beneficiaries around? Did you change the life insurance beneficiaries around? And so on. Usually they don't because they think, oh, I changed my will and trust, I'm good. No, you're not good. You've got to make sure this stuff is done right. And then let's talk about mistake number three. Mistake number three is not understanding the rules on different types of accounts. So here you go. This is a famous story out there in the beneficiary world, but a great example where a guy is married. He worked at a big company, had a 401k. He had 3 sons. And what happened was his first wife had unfortunately died from cancer. And so he went into his 401k. And what he did is he said, I'm going to name my 3 sons as the beneficiaries. In other words, he wanted the 401k to go to his 3 sons. Well then, of course, he finds a new bride and they get married. And as so often is the case in stories like this, somehow he magically dies within a month. Right? So he gets married to a new bride within a month, he's gone. Now he's intending that his 401k goes to his 3 sons. Oh, but not so fast. This is a 401k. And the rules of 401ks are, if there's a spouse, living spouse, a wife, in this case, the 1-month-old wife, right? The wife of 1 month, the wife gets the money, not the kids. So where'd the money go? Didn't go where he wanted it to go, went to the new wife. His sons disinherited. And we were talking like 600 grand here that they lost out on. 403Bs, another example. In a 403B, if this were a 403B plan, it would have been fine. But a 401k plan, not fine. Different plans, different rules. You want to make sure that you're talking to someone working with a team that understands these rules so they can give you advice that fits for your unique circumstances.
Listen, are you an employee who is participating in a 401k plan? Are you aware that in some cases, you'll be able to roll out of the plan even though you're still working?
Are you tired of the choices you have and possibly the lack of professional help in getting you to your retirement goals? If you're looking for an alternative approach to help you protect your hard-earned retirement savings, then we may be able to help. You may be entitled to an in-service rollout of your 401k plan.
A rollover to a self-directed IRA may be an appropriate solution for you. Contact us at Centennial Wealth Advisory today. Take control of your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory can help. Please call the number on the screen.
Hi, I'm here with Larry Flynn. He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And Larry, I know you and the other advisors, they do a lot of public discussions, a lot of public seminars on financial matters regarding retirement planning. Can you share with our viewers a little bit more about, what do you talk about, and what kinds of topics can they expect to hear you speak on?
Mike, we put on a 1-hour presentation, and I'll talk about a number of various topics, from taxes to the new fiduciary standard of care, just a number of things that we believe are critical in making somebody's retirement vision a reality.
So this is all about getting them good information in today's world on a variety of retirement topics. That's right. Now, a lot of these events, I know these folks are out there watching us right now. I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, Larry, I've been to these before, and usually it's really nothing more than someone trying to sell me something. Can you maybe respond to people that think about that?
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that. I hear that all the time. Hey, I went to these before. They hard sold me. They were trying to pressure me into making an appointment with them. That's not what we're about. Just want to give them some good information. If they see something from the presentation that they might want to hear more about, then great, we'd love to meet with them. But we're not going to meet with somebody that doesn't want to meet with us. We're not going to hard sell them into having to come to our office.
Yeah, why waste time chasing down people who don't want to talk to you anyway, right? Right. Well, that sounds great. So, Larry, I know you do these throughout all of northern Michigan. For those folks watching that think, hey, I'd like to attend that. Does it cost anything, by the way?
No cost.
So they're free. So they think, okay, it's free to go. I'd love to go, learn a little bit, maybe have a nice dinner. How do they find out more information, like when these events are and how to register? What do they need to do?
Well, they can call the number they've been seeing on the screen during the program.
Okay.
They can visit the website, www.cen-wealth.com.
All right.
Yep.
So website, phone number, either way, they can get all the information they need. Is that right?
There you go.
All right, there you go, folks. Sounds to me like it'd be worth your time to attend. You've got nothing to lose. And hey, maybe you'll find out some great information that helps you make your retirement better. Thanks, Larry.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, July 26th at the Inn at Bay Harbor in Petoskey, or Thursday, August 10th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit cen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
I'm sitting here with John Torbett. He's one of the financial advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Thanks for being here, John.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike.
Of course. So, as you know, we're getting to that time. We're getting towards the end of the show. It's story time. We've been talking about beneficiary blunders this week. People who are making mistakes. We see this all the time. And, I've talked about a number of them on the show. I'm just curious, what are some of the biggest or most common mistakes you see people making with beneficiary planning, or even if there's one story specific? Either way you want to take this,
Sure.
Feel free.
Sure. There's a couple different examples that I think of recently is where we had a woman come in to us for the first time, and she had recently lost her husband, and so she was coming to us trying to figure out what to do next ultimately. And so one of the key things that we looked at is on her existing accounts, primarily IRA accounts, she had not ever listed any contingent beneficiaries. She obviously had her husband as primary beneficiary, but she had never looked beyond that.
Okay, so basically it was written, if she died first,
right,
the money would go to her husband.
Mm-hmm.
But there were no arrangements made if he died first.
Right. And she has 2 sons, and so that was something that had never been looked at before. The advisor hadn't really talked to her about that, and so that was one of the key things that we started with, is to understand, hey, if something were to happen to you now, what do you want to happen with this money?
What happens next,
right, because nobody wants to experience that probate court process where if you don't have the beneficiaries listed like you talked about earlier, Mike, now you have to deal with the probate court system, and nobody wants to go through that.
Yeah, what John's referring to, of course, is if you die and you don't have a beneficiary listed,
right,
well, then the money goes to probate. You've got the time and the cost and the delay and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's one thing you said that came up pretty recently. What else?
Yeah, the second that we see all the time, Mike, is where people say, oh, I don't have to worry about my beneficiaries. I've got a will or I've got a trust, and it'll just magically take care of it, right? And so that's where you still need to make sure that you have specific beneficiaries, like you were talking about with your IRAs or life insurance or annuities or whatever it may be, that you have specific beneficiaries. If you want the trust to be the beneficiary, then that trust has to be named as beneficiary.
Yeah, so in other words, what you're saying is that they say, oh, I'm going to change my trust.
Right.
I'm going to change my will. That'll fix it all.
Oh, yeah.
But it only fixes it all if the trust is the beneficiary, or if you want your assets to go through probate for some reason, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And by the way, folks, there are reasons to have a trust as a beneficiary, right, John?
Oh, sure.
Because, let's say you have a special needs child, or maybe you've got 4 children, 3 of them are good with money, but there's always that one kid, right? And so you need to protect them. So having your financial assets go through a trust may make sense, certainly. But if you've already listed beneficiaries that are not the trust or your estate, well, then it's not going to take care of it, is it?
Yeah, and that's where we look at it as your financial planning should not just be your investment side, but also looking at the estate side and how that plays a role in taxes and making sure you have a cohesive plan that covers all of those areas.
They all come together. Well,
exactly.
John, we're running out of time here, of course, this week, folks. We really appreciate you watching. We hope you found this week's show entertaining and helpful. And remember, you only retire once. Let's make sure you do it right the first time. We will see you next week.